Okay, so this is the assignment in Aztec, right? Just directions on what to do. Um, I think someone's trying to get in. There we go. So hey Nadia, good to see you. So we are going into okay, it looks like I don't have multiplying and dividing fractions yet, but that's perfectly okay. I will have to put that up this weekend, but I will bring it up. We can do this together. Yeah, I have a bit of catch up to do. Um, I have a bit of catch up to do this tomorrow. Let's see. Oh, I see. Hot. Oh, yeah, they have a playground over there close to the worker housing, so closer to the market over there. It's on that side. So let's see. So I'm just gonna have to go into my old Canvas course. I mean, but like I said, I'll put it up there as soon as I can. Here we go. Multiplying fractions. There we go. Now look at this. They were gonna like look at this. They dedicate like one page to this, you guys. Okay. So the answer to a multiplication, so and this is actually the vocabulary that they give you, and they do repeat it like very often, is that the answer to a multiplication problem is called the product. And multiplying fractions means finding, this is the cool thing. Now, when you're multiplying fractions, your means that you're finding a fraction of a fraction. So when you multiply proper fractions, meaning fractions where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Like, for example, 1 over 10, right? That's a proper fraction. I will put this up in Canvas. You can follow along for right now on paper and stuff because we're going to do some practice today. And then, yeah, and then when I get it, yeah, you can take a break from whatever you're doing. Um, and a lot of people are really good at this. Like I noticed that when people took the pre-test, even if they kind of don't do well on the adding and subtracting, which as you can tell has a lot of different steps, multiplying is a lot easier because of the way we solve it. Because you can work even if they have different denominators, you can still solve it, right, without doing much to it. Um, but when you're multiplying, what you're doing is you're taking a fraction of a fraction, right? So what you're doing is when you have a fraction like this, like 1 over 10, that's a proper fraction because the top number is smaller than the bottom number, right? So that's a number that's less than 1. Remember that from I think it was last week? Um, when we have a proper fraction, that's a number that's less than 1. And so if you're going to split up something that's less than 1, guess what? You're making it even smaller, right? So basically, a part of a part. I've talked about this before, like for example, Pretend this square right here, like I said, is a Costco sheet cake, right? Like this is a Costco sheet cake. And let's say, yeah, this is not 1 acre now anymore. This is one cake. This is one Costco cake, right? And when you get to the party, you start slicing it up and you're thinking, oh, a lot of people aren't going to be here. It's like, uh, so I'm just going to slice it into like 5 really long slices and just share it with like my friends, right? Yeah, I only have 4 people coming. I only have like 4 close friends, but then doorbell rings, right? And those 4 friends brought some friends of their own. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, I if I keep my cake like this, I am not going to have enough to share. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to take those parts and you're going to make, pieces out of those parts, right? So I have those long strips of cake and I'm going to cut them in half, right? So I cut this one in half. And so now each of these, this used to be one, so the longer piece, that was 1/5, right? Let me backtrack really quick just so I can. So I'm going to use green again. That way we don't get confused. So these long strips, right? Ay, 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 these long strips of cake, those were 1/5. But once we started cutting them down in half, those one slices 1/5 of the cake then was not 1/5 anymore. It became 1/10. So when you're multiplying fractions, that's what you're doing. Yeah, you should. If that helps you visualize it, absolutely. It's just like when we were working with the geometry earlier. Yeah, if this helps you guys kind of visualize what we're doing here, absolutely. Draw it out. Um Earlier today I was talking about how some in some parts of the test, the math exam, you're going to get geometry problems and they're just going to describe the situation to you in words. And if you're fine with that, if you can visualize it in your head, that's fine. But if you can't, then draw a picture. Yeah, because remember, we have enough in our going around up here as it is, right? In our daily life. If we can take some of that and put it down on paper, that's something we don't have to hang on to. Like some people, how they journal sometimes if they're having problems, because it takes what's kind of, yeah, because it takes whatever's up here and it puts it on paper, so you don't have to hang on to it as much, right? And if you need to go back to it to refer to it, then you can, right? Um, so it's the same way with geometry. Okay, so that's the idea is we're taking parts and we're breaking them down into smaller pieces. So when it's proper, if it's improper, that's another story, but we're not there right now. Okay. So let's work this example. So this was a different one than the picture. So I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to draw this out. So the owner of I'm sorry, a 3/5 acre panel of land plans to sell half of the land. So how large is the parcel that he plans to sell? Well, one thing, there's a couple of words here that we need to kind of there's some vocabulary here that we need to, and you will get land problems like this on the exam. So let's take a look at these really quick. So this word, let me get my yellow pen. This acre, right? So what's an acre? Does anybody know? You don't need to know the exact measurements, but when people talk about acres, yeah, it's land, right? So acre is a specific measurement of land. It equals to a certain amount of square feet. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I could look it up really quick, which I will because I'm curious. I'm being okay. I'm going to say how many feet or how many square feet. Oh, that's a common question. Uh, yeah, it's 43,560 square feet. So that's a big piece of land. So when people say like, "Oh yeah, I'm selling an acre off an acre of land," no, it's not small, right? Actually, if you go to some real estate websites like, home sellers, like yeah, this week I've been looking at Coldwell Banker, like their properties, and they also sell land. And I'm just saying, how much does land around here cost, right? Not that I'm going to buy land right now, but um, but that's an acre, right? So when we talk about an acre of land, that's what we're talking about. Now, so when we say a panel, there's another word there. A panel of land. So basically, we're talking about like a panel. Okay, do you know at home? Do you have any panels at home? I think really hard. Think of a type of panel you would have at home. What about your electrical panel? You guys have an electrical panel in your apartment or your home? It's like a little, it's a plate like this. And it's metal and it's got a little door. And when you open it up, it's got all the circuit breakers in there. So like when the power goes off, like you check the electrical panel and all your little circuit switches in there and you kind of flip the switch to see if you can get it to work. That's a panel. So when we talk about a panel, we're talking about like something that's shaped like this. So we have a 3/5 acre panel of land. So when we say it's 3/5 of an acre, so now I'm going to start drawing. Okay. So I want to visualize it. I don't want to keep it in my head. I don't want to keep using my imagination. I want to just put it down so I can stop that part of my brain. And so okay, so I have a panel here, and this panel is 3/5 acre, which means that it's less than that 43,000 square feet, right? It's because remember, 1 acre is like more, 43,000 plus square feet. This is less than that. Okay. But guess what this guy wants to do, or gal wants to sell half of this 3/5. So this is what that looks like. So now on wants to sell half of that. So this is the kind of the situation that we're dealing with, right? Now, but how do we okay, so now we say, well, how large is the parcel that he plans to sell? Because we don't have that information. We know that the whole thing is 3/5 of an acre, but what is half of that specifically? It's not one half, right? What is one half of 3/5? Right? Yeah, exactly, right? So that's where the math comes from. So first of all, and this is the beauty, this is why people do so well with multiplication and fractions, because guess what you just do? You just multiply the numerators and then you multiply the denominators. So you got 1 times 3, that's 3. 2 times 5, that's 10. Can you reduce that anymore? No. So we learned that the owner of the land sold off 3/10 of an acre. So there we go. So I'm going to write this too, because I know now I know this 1/2. This part right here is 3/10. So that's the specific number. So we know. Oh, but that makes sense. That does make sense if you think about it. Okay. So we're going to do a little practice. Remember, hmm? Oh yeah. Oh, you got the math app. Oh, that's great. I haven't talked about that, but I'm glad have taken advantage of that. Um, our last year student of the year. Um, I know his last name, Mr. Santoyo. I know, but our student of the year. Um, was a big fan of the math app. Really liked using it. I have it on my phone. Haven't played with it much, but that he said that was really helpful. Yeah. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna work it out. So remember, you multiply the top by the top, bottom by the bottom, and try to reduce. We're gonna do this first row. I'm gonna do the first one with you, and then I want you to do the last three. Okay. So really easy stuff, guys. So what's 2 times 4? Okay, I'll give you a moment to copy it down. So yeah, 8. And what's 3 times 5? 15. And so now we got to ask ourselves, can we reduce it? Yeah, we can. So we just need to find we might be able to. Let's see. Let's check our factors here. 3 and 5. And what about 8? 2 and 4. So can we reduce it? See any twins? No, it doesn't look like we can reduce this one. That's okay. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set. I'm not going to set a timer, but so I'd like you to do the rest of these three. Just the ones you see right here. And remember the reduce if you need to. Remember, it's easy to multiply the top. You can even use your calculator. So you multiply the top, multiply the bottom, and then you reduce. And I forgot to give you guys a time limit. Let's take about, this shouldn't take that long. So let's take about, we'll just take about 3 more minutes and then we'll check our answers. Okay, so we're getting ready to come on back. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take these apart. So like I said, we just top by top, bottom by bottom. That's why we love these so much. So 5 times 2, that's going to give us 10. And then 7 times 9, that's going to be 63. I could be wrong. Is it 63? Okay. Now I ask myself, okay, well, can I reduce this? No, it's not, because 10, our factors are like 2 and a 5. And remember, 1 doesn't really count. Um, if all you have is 1 and the same number, that's a prime number. And then 63, that's of course 7 and 9. The nice thing is that you could see your factors right here. Look at, your factors are already here in the problem, right? So that might help you out a little bit. A little bit. Okay. So now we have 1/8 times 7/10. And so we are going to 1 times 7 is 7. 8 times 10 is 80. We ask ourselves, can we reduce that? And the answer is no, because 7 is a prime number, and that, so it's not going to really work with anything else. So 3 times, I'm a little out of space, but let's take a look. So 3 times 5 is 15. 11 times 8 is 88. So now that's our answer. Can't really reduce that. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit more practice with this. And then, like I said, then we're going to take a break after this. Okay. Um. Now, see, those were the first row. I think the first row they give you some pretty easy ones, but I think these you're gonna have to probably reduce. So be prepared for that. They went kind of easy on you. So we're looking at row 2. Okay, let's do those first two. So that one, this one right here, the 1/3 times 1/5, and 4/7 times 4/9. So let's work those out. And like I said, do expect to reduce. So let's see. Let's go ahead and take about. This should probably take about. I'm going to say 3 minutes. Let's try that. So row 2, row 2. So we're going to check pretty soon. And let's see, what did we get for the first one? So 1/3 times 1/5. So what did we get for our answer here?
One over 15.
1/15. Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's see. We have 1 times 1. That is 1. And 3 times 5. That's 15. Yeah. We didn't really have to reduce on that one, which is cool. And then what about the second one? So 4/7 times 4/9. What did we get for that one? Okay, I'll show you on. Okay, so let's take a look and see if we have to reduce this one. 4 times 4 is 16, right? And 7 times 9 is it 63? You guys? Uh, yeah, 7 times 9 is 63. I'm just double checking because this Friday, brain no work too good. Yeah, so 63, and so there's two methods I can use. Remember, we yesterday we talked about there's two main methods we can use. We can either factor it out and find the twins, right? Oh my gosh. If you've ever been by the parent center, because there's all these just littles, like preschool kids. Oh my gosh. Most of them are so cute. It's just, I just remember when my daughter was doing play group here on Wednesday nights at the parent center. So adorable. Anyway, so yeah, so we have that 63, and this is so I want to show you both methods. So the first method we factor it out. So I want to find the two biggest numbers, right? Because 16 and 1, yeah, 16 is big, but 1 is not, right? We could try 8 and 2. That's a possibility. And I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna factor out. There's 8 and 2, and what else? There's another combination that makes 16. Take your time. It's okay. That's all right. It's Thursday. Remember, there's another combination that makes 16. It's a multiple of 4. There's your hint. There you go. Okay. So 4 times 4 also, right? All right. So there's 8 and 2, 4 and 4. So 63, there's only 7 and 9. I don't think there's anything else that makes 63. So I think 63 is as low as we can go on this one. And that is fine. Yeah, at some point you're going to get some that, but that's how I reduce. So there's kind of two methods. The other one, and we could talk about it when we come back. So, but let's go ahead. Let's take a break. It's 11:25. Let's take a 10, and we'll come back at 11:35. Okay. So if you need to get some water or whatever, use the restroom, people at home. Yeah, we're gonna come back in 10 minutes, and then we'll finish up the day. Okay. Okay, we're going to be coming back in just about 2 minutes for the last part of today's lesson. Right now, I'm kind of fiddling around with Google Maps with the street view. This is like down the street from that church we were looking at, where they're doing the blood panel. Um, always forget there's like a small market here, because this shopping center is like just kind of in the middle of like nowhere almost, right? Because like it's just kind of a weird place to. Oh yeah, there's the market. Yeah, uh-huh. Couple of restaurants and then a barber shop. Oh, there's the other Casa de Pollo. This is Casa de Pollo 2, the sequel, The Revenge of the Pollo. Yeah, yeah. So this is the other location. Oh, they have karaoke on Thursday, yeah. Thursday and Saturday. Oh, they have pitchers of beer for 11.99. That way everybody sounds good when they go up there. Yeah, but see, with all those pictures, no one will notice. I think one of the most interesting, bits of like cultural, information that has come down the line to me is um, Filipino families and karaoke. Filipino families and karaoke. Yeah, it's just like really big, popular. Like in the Philippines, there's like so many small karaoke places. It can get heated, like fights can break out. Yeah. There's been stories, about, especially around like Frank Sinatra songs, because like Frank Sinatra is like really, really big over there. And like I've read stories, not rumor, but I've read like articles about how somebody will sing a song badly, and like a Frank Sinatra song, and people get like upset. Uh, Sometimes like get to the point where there's like fighting. Um, but that, yeah. But I just know that karaoke is really big. There's because there's all these small places dotted around um, the Philippines. I remember I was friends um, with a gal, and her parents were from the Philippines, and like yeah, they had a like full on karaoke machine at their place. It was like with laser disc player and everything. Hmm? No, I had a friend who was Filipino. Her parents, she was born here, but her parents are from the Philippines, and they had like this karaoke machine. Yeah. Let's see. So we're gonna go into dividing we're going to look at dividing fractions, which is really not that bad, actually. Let me see. We'll look more at canceling next week, but I just want to point your attention towards these like really kind of basic things that we're looking at. Um, One of the things that we got to look at is cross canceling, right? Because we can do that with, we can do that with multiplying and dividing fractions. So here we go. So this is something, and this is what really trips up people sometimes, is because they'll try to cross cancel. They'll try to cross cancel when they're multiplying and not multiplying, when they're adding and subtracting. Some people get confused, and they start cross canceling. And no, we can't do that with addition and subtraction, but we can do it with multiplying and dividing. And the reason why is because multiplication and division are so closely related to each other, that we can manipulate them in that way. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so we're looking at this part of, so canceling is a shortcut in the multiplication of fractions. It's just like reducing. It is, and it is essentially reducing. Okay, I'll see you later. Um, it's just like reducing. Just be sure to clock out. Okay. Um, it's just like reducing. It means dividing a numerator and a denominator by a number that goes into both before oh boy. Thursday. It means dividing a numerator and a denominator by a number that goes evenly into both before actually multiplying. So you don't have to cancel to get the right answer. You don't, but it just makes it easier, right? So, I mean, you can solve this thing. Like you have this example 10 over 21, 10 20, 21ths, 10 21sts, 10 and 20. No, it would be 10 and 21 hundredths. There you go. Times, yeah. So we have 10 over 21 times 14 over 25. And we could solve it like this. We totally can. Right. And maybe if we had a calculator and, we definitely knew our stuff and we were comfortable, we could probably do it like that. But it would also might save us a little time if we reduced it first. So we're going to work this example, which you should. Okay, so let me zoom in here real quick. So we have this problem right here. Right, we have 10 over 21 times 14 over 25. Now, I'm going to rewrite this in a way that this is going to make a bit more sense, because when we are multiplying fractions, we can also we can actually look at it like this. So instead of two little fraction bars, I can look at it like this. Right? So this is another way of looking at it. And so if you see it like this, so because we can present it like this, you can see that, let's just pretend that this is just all one big fraction, right? And you could see how we can cross cancel here. So we can divide. So I'm thinking, 10 and 21 are not going to work, right? But 10 and 25 will. So I can factor it out like I usually do, like I can reduce it because that's what we're doing. But if I know my multiplication facts, I can say, okay, what number goes into both 10 and 25? And I can say, oh, 5 does, right? So 5, 10 divided by 5, 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. And now, and then I have those other two numbers. I have 14 and 21. I'm thinking, okay, is there a number? Now, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. That's the way it works. And I think to myself, okay, well, is there a number that that you could be, it's Thursday. Man, oh man, it's Thursday. Is there a number that you can use to divide 14 and 21? And that is 7, right? So 7 divides 14 twice, and 7 divides 21 3 times. So now I can rewrite this in its reduced form. So now I have 2/3 times 2/5. And so now I can multiply it, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15, right? And that's how we do that. Now, if we did it the other way, if we did try to solve this without reducing, that's fine. It just means, though, that when we get our answer, we're going to have to reduce that answer down, right? Okay. So we are going to work. Let's see. We're going to take on these right here. So go ahead and do these 4, and then so I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to work these through, and then but if you guys get stuck, let me know. Raise your hand, right? And I can get you unstuck, and that would be okay. There we go. So 5 minutes. So 4 minutes now. So we'll check our answers in about 4 minutes. If you get stuck, raise your hand. Okay, we got about 2 more minutes. Once again, if you get stuck, let me know. I'm here to help. All right. Make sure you make use of this time, right? Especially considering we don't have class for the next 3 days. Because, once again, like, this is around the time where I start looking at, Aztec hours. And if I see that you're, kind of stuck in one place and you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, that's really going to tell me that you're struggling and that you're definitely going to need some help. So if there's a question you have, please let me know. I had to turn my phone notifications down. Really loud. Okay. Okay, so we're going to come together, and then I think we'll have just enough time to cover this, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this first one here. And so I have 2/5 times 3/4, and so I'm like, okay, so this one, 2 times 3, that's going to give me 6, and then 5 times 4, that's going to give me 20. And I'm thinking, okay, well, oops, I'm supposed to cancel first. Give me a second. I could do it like that and then reduce, but then what fun would that be? Give me a second. So I'm actually supposed to cross cancel. Sorry about that. So I have 2 and I have 4, right? So I can divide by 2. So I have 2 divided by 2, that's 1. 2 divided by 4, that's 2. And I have 5 and 3, and I can't really do anything with that. So I can now multiply. So across. So 1 times 3, right? That's going to give me 3. And then 5 times 2, that's going to give me 10. So there's our answer. It should come to 3/10. Okay. And let's try this one. All right. So I have 4/9 times 3/7. Once again, I got to reduce. See, 4 and 7. Can I reduce these guys? No, I can't. That's not going to work. But 9 and 3, I can. And I can use 3. That's our common factor. So 3 divides into itself once. 3 divides into 9 3 times. So there we go. So if we have 4 times 1, that's going to give us 4. And 3 times 7, that's going to give us 21. And we will not be able to reduce anymore. All right. Okay, so we have 5 and 10, 8 and 7. So 5 and 10 we can reduce. We're going to use 5. So 5 divided by itself is not 5. Try that again. 5 divided by itself is 1. And then 5 divided by 10 is 2. We have this 8 and 7, which we cannot reduce. And so we have 1 times 7, that gives us 7. And then 8 times 2, that gives us 16. There we go. And we can't reduce that because we already reduced it. So, but you can always ask yourself, and it's always good practice because you never know. You might have picked a common factor that, that maybe wasn't the highest one. And so maybe you may need to reduce it one more time. So it's always good practice to ask yourself that. Okay. So I have 6 over 12, and I have 7 times 5. So I'm sorry, 6 over 7 times 5 twelfths. Okay. So once again, I'm going to cross cancel. So 6 and 2, yeah, I can do that. So I'm going to use 6 here. So 6 divided by 6, that's 1. 6 divided by 12 is 2. 5 and 7, we can't really do anything with. So let's multiply. We have 1 times 5 is 5. And then 7 times 2 is 14. There we go. We have 5 14s. All right. Okay. So next week. So let's preview next week a little bit, and then I'll let you go. So next week, I kind of showed you some of the basic ideas. I didn't get to division. That's okay. We'll, kind of review some multiplication Monday, and then we'll get into division, and that will prime us a little bit better for Tuesday. And just remember, Tuesday is usually a day when I get new people. So just be aware that, the first part of class, I usually will be busy, bringing people in, getting them set up. Okay, guys. I believe that's it. I don't have anything else. Have a good day. If you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me. And I do really encourage it because, like I said, we are going really, really, this is intense. We're taking our time, mind you, we are taking our time with this, but it is, we are really, really, really focused on this math exam. So is there any part where you feel like you're kind of struggling, do make it a point to contact me. Okay, guys, so that's about it. I will talk to you later. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you guys on Monday.
Bye, Mr. Gomez.
Okay. And bye. And bye, Eli. Have a good day.